Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you, and welcome to the Coconut Grove Hotel, where this year's World Consumer Rights event is actually being held. The theme for the 2024 World Consumer Day is Fair and Responsible AI for Consumers. And before we just start up everything, shall we just share a word of prayer? Father Lord, we thank you very much for this morning. Thank you for the gift of life. We ask that you be with us as we are about to start this program. We ask that you give us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and that everything that is shared here will be with us to effect change, and of course, generate the kind of change we need. In Jesus' name we pray with thanksgiving. Amen. All right. My name is George Safford. I'm going to moderate this session whilst we observe Consumer Rights Day. Now, every year on March 15, the world observes Consumer Rights. It is a day actually dedicated to reflect on the importance of consumer rights on our global marketplace. And I'm actually referring to quality, quantity, price of goods, and the significance of actually safeguarding consumer rights. So what we do at the Cimg is that we educate and empower consumers about their rights and responsibilities, and also advocate for fair and ethical business practices. And then, like we do every year, we actually have a very strong panel that will take us through whatever we need to know about the theme, which is more on artificial intelligence, its fairness and responsibility, with the consumer obviously in mind. With this that I've said, shall we please welcome the National President of the Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana, Dr. Kasati, who will give us the welcome address. Let's put our hands together to welcome him.
Thank you, George. Patrons, fellows, and members of the Governing Council of the Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana, distinguished panelists, Prof. Alassa from the Director General of GBC, our media partners, the Multimedia Group, members of the CIMG, reps of sister associations and professional bodies present, technical committee members of the Ghana Customer Satisfaction Index, marketing students, media men and women, our teaming audience, virtual audience. Good morning to you all. Let me seize this opportune time to welcome you all to this year's World Consumer Rights Day, the second to be observed by the CIMG. This same time last year, we made a historical trace to the genesis of how Consumer International, a member organization for the consumer groups around the world, started recognizing March 15 as World Consumer Rights Day, following its adoption by the United Nations Guidelines for Consumer Protection as a charter. Unlike last year, when we celebrated the day on the theme, Empowering Consumers Through Clean Energy Transitions, the theme for this year is Fair and Responsible AI for Consumers. We all recognize the role that artificial intelligence has played and continues to play in an ever-increasing digitized and interconnected world. From personalized recommendations on e-commerce platforms to automated customer service chatbots, AI has become an integral part of our daily lives, particularly in urban centers where there is internet connectivity, unlike what happened last night or the whole of yesterday. We acknowledge the need for robust regulatory frameworks, ethical guidelines, and industry standards to govern the development, deployment, and utilization of AI technologies, thereby promoting fairness, accountability, and trust in the marketplace. AI has the potential to revolutionize our experiences, offering personalized services and enhanced convenience. However, we must ensure this technology is used ethically with consumer protection at its core, because the power that technology gives us today should also come with great responsibility in its usage by us all. Regardless of novelty and lack of regulatory framework, consumer rights remain unchanged. We must recognize these fundamental rights, including the right to safety, the right to be informed, the right to choose, the right to be heard, the right to redress, the right to education, among others, as contained in the UN guidelines for consumer protection referred to earlier. It is in our own interest, ladies and gentlemen, as consumers, to demand that the technology environment is well regulated in a manner that prioritizes fairness, transparency, and accountability. AI systems should be fair to all, with no discrimination of any kind, except those, of course, that may violate our cultural norms and practices as a people. We must strive for fairness in decision-making of algorithms, ensuring that biases are minimized and opportunities are accessible to all. Consumers must have the right to know when AI is at play. Organizations must therefore be transparent about how AI systems operate, the data they generate and use, and the impact of their decisions. Transparency builds trust and empowers consumers to make informed decisions. When things go wrong, just as happened yesterday and is still happening, who is accountable? We need clear lines of responsibility for AI systems to ensure that consumers are protected and their rights are upheld at all times. The consumer has the right to be educated through information dissemination about the use of AIs and how that impacts society. We must understand the benefits, risks, and limitations to enable us navigate this digital landscape confidently and in a secure manner. Consumer rights are not just the responsibility of regulators or governments, but a collective effort. There must be intersectoral collaboration between governments, industry, academia, media, civil society, and regulators to ensure end-to-end protection for consumers at all times. As we celebrate World Consumer Rights Day today, let us commit to advancing the cause of fair and responsible AI through discussions such as what we are about to have, to equip ourselves with the knowledge and tools necessary to navigate the evolving world of AI. Together, we can harness the potential of AI while safeguarding the rights of consumers. It is for this reason that Cimg acknowledges the significance of consumer rights and the urgent necessity for dialogue to effect possible change in the lives of consumers in Ghana. As stewards of the marketing profession and guided by our mandate under Section 3E of the Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana Act 2020, Act 1021, we will continue to observe this day and use it as a platform to champion consumer rights and also step up awareness levels for both consumers to enable them know their rights and for corporate bodies to know their responsibilities in the provision of goods and services. Cimg stands resolute in this commitment to lead discussions and advocate for the rights of consumers. It is imperative that all organizations, including civil and public service entities, central government, recognize and uphold these consumer rights. Together, let us forge ahead in ensuring that the voices and needs of consumers are not only heard, but honored and respected. Let us work together to ensure that AI serves as a force for good, protecting consumer rights and fostering a more inclusive and beneficial consumer experience in Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, from the Governing Council and membership of the CIMG, I welcome you all to today's all-important program. I wish you fruitful deliberations and urge you to be very active participants so that we will all live here as strong advocates for consumer rights. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let's again put our hands together for him. He's the national president of the CIMG. Also with us, we have Mr. Franklin Sowa, who is the national secretary of the CIMG. Let's put our hands together for Franklin Sowa. There's Alfred Boyan. Alfred is the national treasurer. Let's put our hands together for him. We also have with us Mr. Kofi Addo. So Kofi Addo is a CIMG Governing Council member and a rep from the Ministry of Trade and Industry. We also have Ms. Doris Kuonu. Ms. Doris Kuonu is a former CIMG Governing Council member. Let's put our hands together for her. We also have Mrs. Nana Amapoku, who is the Deputy Managing Director of CBG. Let's put our hands together for her. And then my boss is here, Professor Amin Al-Hassan, the Director General of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. And then we also have Dr. Edward Aka Nyamake, Jr., who is the President of the Ghana Hotels Association. Let's put our hands together for you. Doc, welcome. Now, what if what happened yesterday, and is still happening, is actually linked to AI? What if? Well, we don't know yet, but we have the right to know. I think we do. What if me here, my name is George, but what if I'm not the real George here? What if I'm an AI-generated George standing here interacting with you? Do you have the right to know? There was an experience I shared with my colleagues that on CNN, there was a day that one of the newscasters came on television, read the news, opened the news, did everything he had to do, only for us to realize that that image we saw on television was not the real person. That's Anderson Cooper. That image was an AI-generated image. So with things actually happening in that space, do we have the right to know? That's where the consumer also comes in. So we're going to start our panel conversation here. I'm going to introduce our panel members. Then we'll move straight into it. Now, representing Dr. Albert Nchibi-Osiako, that's the Chief Executive Officer of the Cybersecurity Authority, is Mary Ama Bawa. She is a communication professional at Cybersecurity Authority. She's a communication professional with specialization in policy and intervention communications. She is the capacity building and awareness creation outfit at the Cybersecurity Authority. Let's put our hands together for Mary. Our next panel member is the Deputy Director for the Tech and Ethics Unit at the Data Protection Center. He has over 12 years of experience in digital transformation sector and is a technology policymaker, an artificial intelligence prompt engineer, as well as a seasoned data protection practitioner. He is also the project lead in the drafting of the Ghana AI strategy, the ethical framework for the use of AI, and the Ghana Data Strategy Project, which are spearheaded by the Data Protection Commission. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together to welcome Maxwell Ababu, the Deputy Director, Tech and Ethics, Data Protection Commission. Our next panel member is a marketing communication professional with over 25 years of experience in driving transformational growth and market leadership for businesses and brands in the telecommunication, travel and tourism, banking, insurance, and consumer packaged goods industries in West Africa. He has constantly and consistently championed a data-driven approach, the application of marketing science principles to marketing communications, and spoken about the implications of artificial intelligence and the need to facilitate the building of new ecosystem for marketing communication practitioners, national brands, and businesses in Africa. He serves on the board of PhD Media Ghana Limited, the Executive Council of the Advertising Association of Ghana, the Advertisers Regulation Committee of the Food and Drugs Authority in Ghana, the Africa Rising Committee of the International Advertisers Association. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together to welcome Bright Lajepo, who is the Managing Director and CEO for PH. Our next panel member is a seasoned professional with over 15 years experience in information systems, currently serving as the Chief Technology Officer at AIDEC Digital, leading a dynamic team in the development and management of cutting-edge solutions and applications for business spanning the globe. And he holds a distinguished MBA in Artificial Intelligence Mechanism, Learning and Deep Learning from Czech Republic, and Masters in Management Information System from GIMPA. He also holds a certificate in Microsoft AI and other backgrounds too. His educational background has provided him with a solid foundation in both technical and managerial aspects of information system and artificial intelligence, enabling him to seamlessly bridge the gap between technology and business objective. He has authored 7 publications, with 90% of them being in the field of artificial intelligence. He's also attended several AI conferences to date. I'm beginning to believe that maybe he might be self-AI too, but this AI thing. Let's put hands together to welcome Mr. Emmanuel, who is the Chief Technology Officer at AIDEC Digital. Our next panel member, who is the final one, is a distinguished Ghanaian engineer, an inventor, and innovator. He's currently the president and the provost of Academic City University College, Hacho, in Accra. He has actually held a lot of roles, increasing responsibilities for Fortune 500 companies in the US. He was Director of Research and Development and Technology of IT at Cimg Medical. He was also Worldwide Director of Research and Development and subsequently Director of Markets Development at Beckton Dickinson & Co., the world's largest manufacturer and injection company. Our guest, actually, and a panel member, holds an MBA from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology as a Sloan Fellow and earns a PhD in Materials Engineering from the university, and holds a Master's in Engineering Science and Mechanics from Virginia Tech, and also lots of qualifications within that particular space. Our panel member is a recipient of the 2008 U.S. Black Engineer of the Year, Most Promising Scientist Award 2008, NJB's Innovator Hero Award, and was 2009 finalist of the NASA Astronauts Candidate Corps. And he is also a co-founder of the 22 Issues U.S. Patent and his numerous technical publications. Please, let's put our hands together to welcome Professor Fred. Let's put our hands together for all our panel members here. Okay, we are live on Joy News, so, and to those also watching us online, thank you very much for joining us. We're going to start off with our panel conversation, and your microphones are on the table, so you can just put them on. Let me start with you, Prof. Maybe if you can. Okay, sorry about that. All right, Prof, I'm going to start with you. Give us a brief understanding when we say artificial intelligence, exactly what are we referring to? Can we work on his microphone?
So, look, I look at artificial intelligence as automating our way of life, basically getting a machine to do what we do. Whether it's a physical machine or it's an electronic machine, anything that tries to mimic human behavior, human enterprise, in a productive and oftentimes non-productive ways, it's an AI system. Pretty simple. The complexity of it comes in based on the application. So for instance, many years ago, I worked on a system. We were not calling it AI at the time. We were calling it intelligence system, automated system. And the whole idea was that your ear and my ear canals are different. So how can I come up with a system that is able to model my ear and transfer that information adaptively to modify, to build a device for your ear? Now, in order for you to do this, you have to collect data over many, many, many years to classify them, to segment them before you can build such a system. So artificial intelligence is coming at us from multiple angles, but the simple definition of it is getting, quote, somebody else, whether it's a software, whether it's a physical machine, to mimic human behavior and human enterprise positively, which is what we want as consumers, but it can also go the other way.
Okay. Maxwell, you have an addition to that? What artificial intelligence is?
Hello. Yeah. Okay. Good morning, everyone. So to add to what Prof was talking about, is actually mimicking what humans can do. And I always say, with the inception of a computer, and once algorithms are there, AI was already in the process. But I think during the past, we didn't have the word artificial intelligence, which is said that it's been there for long. I also can make an emphasis on a project I worked on. It's a voiceover translation system. We use data to convert graphical information to translate to people who cannot read and write English. And this thing is about the last 10 years. But it's about the intelligence, gathering data and all that. But that time, that whole of artificial intelligence word was not something we all came about to know. So I think it's something that has existed, but now is how is it going to treat, or how fair is it treating us as human beings? Because at the end of the day, we have to make sure that we are the ones controlling them, not them controlling us. So that is where, and that is why we are here today, probably to make sure that we'll get to understand. So it's actually, it's a discussion between the regulator, we the individuals, and the tech companies. Yes, and these tech companies always want to find their way out by making profit. And we, the users, are always interested in getting things done because I want to sleep and have my own time to get things done faster. And the government or the regulator is also to protect me as a citizenry. So it's a triangle discussion. I think during the course of this panel, a lot will come up.
Okay,
right.
let's get to the Cybersecurity Authority. Mary, if you can also share some thought with us on exactly what this artificial intelligence is all about. Yes.
Thank you. I guess this is the only female voice you're hearing since we began. But I am with a family. This is a community that we meet almost every week for discussions like this. Before this question came, I think Emmanuel and I were just discussing how relevant the theme for the celebration of the event is for, especially this year, the events that have unfolded since 2023 November, when the EU passed the AI guidelines for the European community for businesses and for organizations. And from a regulator's perspective, I asked myself, the system is already with us. Where are the guidelines? How informed are the people using these operations? Are they aware of the vulnerabilities? Are they aware of the level of exposure they're exposed to when they use these systems? Because of the Internet of Things, almost everything, almost every company, almost every individual is looking for, so which AI technology suit what I'm doing? But then how safe is the technology that we are on? How is the regulator taking it? Within international cooperation, what is the level of preparedness of our government, of our policy? So these are some of the things we've been talking about. Because a couple of months ago, multimedia, you are here, it came in the public domain that one of their presenters' voice has been cloned. And we all thought that multimedia was promoting this thing, but multimedia says, no, that is not our gentleman. Right here in the shores of Ghana. So it is here, and it's an open conversation we must have for the consumer to have an understanding of this is an opportunity, but there are threats that must be addressed.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. And let me move to Bright. I mean, from that communication aspect of it and an understanding of exactly what AI, yes, of what AI actually is, and then finally I'll come to you, Emmanuel.
Right. So, Prof has defined, and real technical hardcore people have defined it.
Yes.
I want to speak from the perspective of the consumer.
Yes.
In marketing, we say consumer. The consumer is the game we hunt. So, the consumer is at the heart of all we do, whether we're building brands or growing businesses. It's the consumer. The thing about artificial intelligence is that it's actually an extension of our humanity, or it brings a lot of efficiency to what we do. So see the phone and the AI within the phone as an extension of your voice. So some of the things you can't efficiently do as a human being, the AI helps you to achieve that level of efficiency. So AI has benefits, let's face it, immense benefits to drive productivity through efficiencies that it can help us achieve, right? And for that matter, again, it has threats to the consumer, which we have to protect. So every now and then that there is new tech, what then happens is there's new consumer behavior. That new consumer behavior challenges us in the marketing ecosystem, whether in media or sales, to develop new approaches of hunting that game, the consumer. So we end up investing to fuel that new tech, all right? Yeah. And that new tech benefits brands. Brands put the money back into advancement and new media. And for that matter, we think that from purely a marketing communication, a marketing perspective, we practitioners need to recognize that if the consumer is at the center of what we do, and now they're in control, really, if they're at the center of what we do, we have the responsibility. Just like we have the right to use technology to target them, we have the responsibility to protect them.
Yes.
And for that matter, what we're doing here today is part of the advocacy and awareness building and the conversation that we should be having around the table as to how we all work collaboratively together to protect the consumer.
Okay, all right, thank you. Ima, I'll move to you. I mean, we've acknowledged that there are benefits and likewise the other side of it. But which one outweighs the other, the benefits or the negative aspects of artificial intelligence?
Thank you very much. So definitely the advantage always, outweighs the disadvantage. But to add some layer to the definition for AI, as my friends has done already, in the previous times when we were developing applications, we develop applications and we feed the system. So what it means is that whatever we say the system to do, that's what the system does for us. But in AI systems, we feed the system with just stages or processes and ask the system to learn by itself and reproduce or recreate what we have given the system. So we call that machine learning. All right, so we ask you, just relearn what I have instructed you to do and do whatever you want to do all by yourself. And that also is sitting on another layer called deep learning, right? So deep learning is where we begin to now produce what I call brains, all right? Because the idea is coming from how human brains work, what we call neurons or, neurons. So we create basically how the brain connects from one neuron to the other neuron, all right? Putting weights, putting other stuff to make it, or to make sure that it reasons properly. Or in our brains, we have, powers, okay? Or what we call transformers. That nerves from one to the other, or signal from one to the other. It's the same thing that we mimic in the artificial intelligence processes. And so you can see how dangerous that can be if you are not protecting consumers, all right, from using such systems. And so for us, the discussion today on how consumers can be protected or how we can be responsible in using these applications are key.
My follow-up question to you. I mean, you actually program the machine to do that kind of thinking and processing. So why should we humans be worried if you are the one in charge?
Yes, so so the way I think is different from the way you are thinking, right?
Okay, sure.
Yeah, so that's why God created us uniquely. And so you see, everybody have way of, or some level of biases, all right? I needed a system to do specific thing for me, but I wanted it to get something that would be beneficial to me, but not probably for everybody. And that is why, these particular technology, leaders are describing it as dangerous, even more than atomic bombs. Because now the tool is given to people who they don't really guide it, to produce or to create these technologies. And so, yes, there are biases, all right? So whilst I'm developing my system, I can put in those biases. There's one we call algorithmic bias, okay? Algorithmic bias is when I'm creating the system, I say, no, I want to develop the code this way, or the machine should learn this way. And if I'm doing that, then it means that I'm doing it for my own benefit, but not for everybody. And another part of it has to do with the data we collect, because AI does not work, from a vacuum, right? It feeds on data. So if you don't have data, you don't have AI, right? So once we are collecting data or we are feeding the system with data, how fair are we in collecting the data we are processing or the AI systems are processing, right? So these are some of the things that we need to consider going forward in using AI tools. As for us developers, that's why we need regulators, all right, to tell us that, hey, where you are going, we think you are going off. Come back to the lane. Otherwise, we'll go and continue to be going, and that will be dangerous for society.
Okay, let me move to Prof. I mean, he's talked about regulation, which is very important, and it's been one thing that almost world leaders are talking about. But at what level of regulation would we think that is enough of a regulation so that, yes, we don't limit what it can do in its own advantages. Likewise, we don't also allow it to go overboard.
So, when I look at AI, I think about those of us that went to Saito, and there was a book with Pinocchio and the talking cricket. Remember that? The intentions were good when he was creating Pinocchio, and Pinocchio kind of ran amok. Look, I think from where I sit, and by the way, my university was the first to offer an undergraduate degree in AI and robotics. And we did that because we wanted to make sure that even if we were not developing the technology and we were importing it, we should still have people that can man it. What I think we as Africans, or Ghanaians in particular, and consumers should be thinking about is that I think AI is going to revolutionize our ways of life the same way the smartphone did. We have an opportunity to leapfrog. Those of you that have lived long enough, in the 90s, you could wait 5 years to get a landline to your house. I was an undergraduate, couldn't call my mom for many, many years because it was $3 per minute. Now, my mom has 2 phones with 2 chips in each of them. She's like a kingpin, wherever she is, she can receive a call. I think AI is fundamentally going to change life for us. Think about the medical field. All the clothes you are wearing today, in your lifetime, will become part of your medical care. Because that is what is closest to your body every single day, collecting data and pushing this data into some network somewhere, and one morning you get a phone call from your doctor that says, I have detected some anomalies. AI has detected some anomalies in your data. You need to come to the hospital right away. So my biggest fear is that we tend to sign on protocols as a nation before we know the full impact of that protocol on our way of life. We've signed the Nuclear Regulatory Treaty. We don't even have a nuclear reactor. So if we decide to have one, what are we going to do? How are we going to violate the terms of that agreement? So I like homegrown solutions. I think the conversation that we need to be having here is and I have a regulator here, how can we make AI work for us? And what boundaries can we set around it? Because the problems that the advanced countries are going to have with AI in the next 10 years are not going to be the problems that we are going to have with it. They are trying to win wars. We are trying to survive. Right? that is a fact. So if we overregulate ourselves on a technology that is at its infancy, it is still evolving. If we put anything bombastic in our regulations and tie our own hands, we may not be able to advance this technology to the fullest of our advantage. And how can we advance it? We have the whole agri sector that is begging for innovation. If you've ever tried to garden in the mountains of Brekusu, you will know how pest destroys gardens. It is then that you have sympathy for our farmers, why they work so hard and produce so little. Healthcare. We have education where kids are still sitting under trees in parts of this country. AI is going to revolutionize how we educate those children, how we customize education for each child, because we cannot all learn at the same rate. The kids we used to call dumb in our classes just happened to be with kids that were a little faster than them. But their destinies were signed off because they were always last at the bottom. AI is going to change that. So I am optimistic that for the consumer, it's going to work, but we should not overregulate ourselves.
Okay. That brings me to Mary. We should not overregulate ourselves. We need to get homegrown solutions too. And the regulation out there might work for them, but might not necessarily work for us. But for us here, do we understand its impact? And what are we doing to ensure that it works for us? And the other side to maybe just control it too.
Thank you. That leads me to walk us through where we are as a country when it comes to cybersecurity regulations. The country started its digital journey many years ago, but the safety of users of the online space, the legislation that was established to regulate or guide you and I just came into force in 2020. The Cybersecurity Act, Act 1038.
Yeah.
Now that's going forward. The Cybersecurity Act, right from the onset, establishes its mandate, what the authority is expected to do. 1, to regulate. 2, to promote. 3, to develop cybersecurity activities in the country. That's where we are. And I thought this premise was quite important because Prof was talking about the fact that the technology is in its infancy. And so we must be careful that we don't over-regulate. We will not get the opportunity to even develop the technology in the first place. Understanding its mandate quite well from the first step, the Cybersecurity Authority has 4 major focus. And the pillars of the Cybersecurity Authority is 1, government. So to understand that government institutions and all the para-public agencies understand where we are as a country. 2 is public. 3 is children. 4, businesses. To ensure that these 4 major pillars are secure within Ghana's cyberspace. For those of us who have been following very much the activities of the Cybersecurity Authority, 2023 was a major regulatory year for the Cybersecurity Authority, where we began the sensitization on the establishments, cybersecurity professionals, and our regulatory activities that is supposed to guide the operations of these sectors. That law came into force this year. So what that means is, for cybersecurity professionals, for cybersecurity establishments, and for cybersecurity professionals, it's key that you are licensed, you are accredited before you operate in the nation. Why this? Because we operate within a global community. The cyberspace is not like a physical space where you can easily man your borders. And that's why international cooperation is key within the cyberspace. So it's not that easy for Ghana to say that, look, US or UK has passed this law. We are not going to do it. Now, it doesn't also mean that we have lost our sovereignty. But then we scan the cyberspace to determine that we are rife for this. Between 2017, 2018, 2019, if we look at Ghana's cybersecurity readiness, we were just within 36, 37%. But in 2021, the International Telecommunications ruled Ghana's cybersecurity readiness. We were measured around 86%. So between then and now, we just know that there are a lot of cybersecurity activities in the country.
Yes.
And ours is to ensure that the cybersecurity professionals, the establishments, and all the necessary operators are made ready for what is happening within the atmosphere. One of the major areas the Cybersecurity Authority is doing is to ensure that we are as present in the community as much as possible. And that is capacity building and awareness creation. From 2018 up until now, the cybersecurity has been at major grassroots. This year, as part of what we are doing, is to ensure that we touch every region. The notion is to let people understand that, yes, Internet of Things is available. AI is very close to our doorstep. These are the opportunities, but these are also threats. It's like giving a gun to a child and not telling the child what to do with the gun. Now, the child is going to kill himself. So really, we've got a mandate to discharge. But from where we are, we think that it's first things first. If we look at, technology or, technology developers like OpenAI and a lot of the complex, innovations that are going on, from where we sit, we are not able to regulate the activities in the first place. So let's look at what we can do with our people. As we speak, Ghana does not have any policy on AI guidelines. That we don't have. And what we must be aware is that the EU just passed theirs last year, November 2023. So yes, we are in a hurry as a country, but we also have to be mindful that we tread cautiously. Tread
cautiously. That brings me in Maxwell, at least from data protection. So Maxwell will handle two things for me. First of all, in terms of data collection, what is the data protection actually doing to protect consumers when it comes to data collection? And the second one, I think when I was reading the ethical framework of AI. So yes, Maxwell.
Okay, thank you very much. So, thank you, Amma. So, I'll pick it from the data protection, what we do, and I'll fast forward to the next one. That is the ethical use strategy and the AI strategy, and also give where the country is and where we want to achieve from that. Okay, so thank you. Data protection from here. So, our act is the 843/2012. That was when the act came in place. So our function is actually to keep and maintain data protection register, and also implement and monitor compliance of the act, and also investigate any complaints that is from data subject and citizenry. So we are currently working with the Bank of Ghana as a peer regulator, the PPA, to make sure that companies that come in over there to register with them have to make sure that they are compliant with the data protection, or they are fully in compliance with the Data Protection Act. Currently, there's no financial institution that I can say that then the Bank of Ghana is really doing well. That all the fintech companies, all the financial institutions, once you are going for a renewal or you are coming up with any new application or a product to process customer information, you have to come to the Data Protection Commission to do something called a Data Protection Impact Assessment. We do this to measure the risk level of the application, what is the impact you are going to that application is going to have on the citizenry or the data subject. So we go through all those processes. You give us your risk assessment, we do your business continuity, you give us your business continuity plan, and everything about that solution to know that, okay, even if there's a data breach, at what level, which is going to be indicated in the rich register, what is the impact that is going to have on their citizenry or the data subject. So we go through all those processes with them to make sure that every citizen in this country, personal information that is being captured by that solution is well safeguarded with all the security parameters, and everything in that solution is well handled. Secondly, on our act, we also encourage organizations to train data protection supervisors. They will act as mediators between the organization and we, the regulator. So in your office or wherever you find yourself, if you have any issue concerning data, you don't understand anything, maybe somebody, there are instances sometimes you'll be there and you'll be receiving unsolicited text messages, or you'll be there, someone will just call you, send you an email or anything of that sort, that knowing that you've actually not given your information to someone. You can just first make a point contact your data protection supervisor in your organization. Then from there, they will get back to us. The supervisor will then report to the regulator with the Data Protection Commission to lodge the complaint. Then we'll do an investigation based on your compliance report, because compliance report is something you do every 2 years. That is upon your renewal of license. So we'll take your compliance report, go through it, and see what are the indications or what are the parameters that you stated in to handle incidences of such. Then we will take it from there. Second, for me not to take too much time, I'll be talking about the ethical guideline, which is the AI. And since 2019 and before the COVID, data protection was working together with the United Nations Global Pulse, and through the Ministry of Communication and Digitalization, they gave us the nod that is data protection to handle the development or the draft of the ethical guideline of artificial intelligence. And in fact, we are done with it. The draft is out, and we are waiting for the approval. So as Doug was saying and Amma was saying, the document is there. It's very, very critical. As you said, where we are as a nation, when we don't have this thing in place, a lot of things are going to happen. And currently, there are solutions, especially this bank apps, those who give these loans with this bank, those who give these loans with this app. Sometimes you be there and somebody will send a photo to a group that this person has defaulted and all that. These are all called dark patterns in solutions that we regulators have to make sure these companies, these tech companies don't do that. They will fish out those dark patterns. You might think, oh, you are doing nest. But at the end of the day, you are already giving them consent that when I default, pick up all the contacts from my phone and share it to people. Yeah. This is what is happening. So I also encourage us to also read, especially when we are downloading any solution or anything. We have to make sure that we read the privacy notice to make sure that, because you are signing a contract. So you have to make sure that you are confident about what you want to use. It's not just about the nest. So I think it's another thing we as individuals, we also have to take into consideration. On the AI strategy too, is also done. We did it together with the GIZ, the Smart Africa, also helped us in developing that, which is also ready, and we are still waiting for approval. So when this thing comes in place, I think it's going to help us as a nation and also regulate the tech companies, the startups, and the foreign ones also coming in. I think TikTok was in Ghana. I think they had a meeting in Ghana, this week. Yeah. So when these guidelines come in place, and I think it's also going to help them also know how they are going to help us or protect us. Because this AI is, we are to protect, we are to regulate AI, not them regulating us. Because at the end of the day, we feed them with the information, that is the data or the quality data. So it will be very, very bad for them, for the system to tell us what we have to do as human beings. So I think it's another important thing we have to look at, that we are looking forward for this draft document to be passed. And I think there will be a national sensitization, and we'll take it from there.
Okay. Bryce, I'll come to you, but let me just quickly go to Emmanuel. Still on the regulation aspect of it. I mean, the level at which we should regulate it. There was something that Amma said, that yes, we are talking about regulation, but it becomes very difficult when those out there internationally put up their regulation, and Ghana would like to go different way from that kind of regulation. Yes, we can do something, but we also have to work with them. So how do we actually handle the regulation that benefits us, and of course doesn't also allow us to go overboard?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think I side with Prof when he said, don't over-regulate. Okay, if you do that, you kill the technology instantly. Where we are as a country and as a continent, we've not gotten anywhere in this whole AI, trend.
We've not gotten anywhere.
We've not gotten anywhere as a country and as a continent. All right. If you look at the data in terms of where we are, in fact, when I'm looking at the percentage of, adoption in Ghana, it's difficult for me to make a lot of sense out of our percentage. They combine us with Middle East, together. So when you're looking for African percentage, you have to look at Middle East and Africa combined together before you can get a percentage of how we are adopting the technology. And so even though we need to look at the principles behind how we can create these things, we should be careful not to kill it. All right, that's the biggest advice. I think I overheard the data protection saying they will be doing national consultation and making sure that every views are put on board. I mean that would be great for us. Education or educational sector is there. They are into AI training or education. How did they come in? Okay, because we are now producing AI student or AI graduates who would fit the market or who would serve the market. And so we shouldn't think that, this technology is dangerous, and so therefore we should, clamp down on adoption and all that. I think I overheard some parliamentarians saying that this is dangerous, let's kill it before it kills us. I mean, so atomic bomb has been there over ages. Nuclear energy has been there, or nuclear bombs has been there over ages. But we are still living, and people are producing it. And if you have been told not to produce it, and you were there, one day when the whole thing turned upside down, you will be wanting. And so we need to build capacity. We need to create, people who are innovators in the system. We need to educate them. We need to have these skills all around, okay? And so it's key. Please, we all want to be involved in the crafting of the strategy and also of the principle. It's good. All over, you can see EU and the other countries that are well developed, China and the rest, they don't have a law, okay, that regulates the technology. What they are having now is principles, okay? Principles of being responsible, be accountable, be fair, okay, in your development and the usage of it. And he said it all. We don't read. That is one of the things that is killing us, right? We don't read. Most often as developers, because we want to be indemnified, we want to make sure that we don't fall short of the law, we put everything that would take us away from those in the terms and conditions. So when it's one of the responsibilities of the developers from the regulators, that especially data protection, that when you are collecting somebody's data, please inform him, all right? Give him the opportunity to be aware that you are going to use the data for these specific purposes. And we do that. We do that. Sometimes we say, okay, the data we are collecting, we'll collect it for the purposes of this and that and that. And when we are sending you messages, then you are angry. And then you said, oh, why are these people sending me all this stuff? Because you have agreed on the terms and conditions that we put in there. Because you don't read it. And so, and that is a problem. Okay. So, and also, we made it very uneasy for, the users to be able to read those terms and conditions.
So it's deliberate.
Well, it's not. It's actually not deliberate, because those are the terms that we got from the regulator, that you must let the user know all this, okay, before you collect the data. So we put all those things there. So it lies on the user to read and to know these are the things that will come after us signing up to the system. And so, yes, AI is a different area, and so let's wait for a while, at least read some few paragraphs, okay? Because this technology is really, really, I don't want to use the word scary, but is something we need to be careful about.
Okay.
Be sure of the system you are trying to use, because it can ravage through your device. If you don't know and you go and install specific AI applications, yeah, it can expose you. Yeah. All right, it can expose you, because as you're online, what you are actually doing is you are replicating yourself. Okay, every day you are replicating, you are building your virtual self on the internet, and that virtual self can sign your check. Yes, be rest assured, it can sign. AI can sign your check and take it to the bank and clear your payment. And so we need to be very careful what we are signing up to, and I believe that we can be safe.
Right, but it's interesting to hear you say this, and again tell us that let's not overregulate it. It's a bit scary though, but I'll come to you, man. Let me move to Bright here, at least from the consumer's point of view, the issues raised here. Yes.
Let's face it, governments will always play catch up. Okay, so on the regulation space, it's always catching up with technology, because of just the speed at which technologies emerge. And so in 2023, when ChatGPT came on, it set off a flurry of activity in the regulatory space. So one of the things that the EU did, they did a revised AI Act. And then it was like ban, right? Ban, any extreme, whatever. President Biden issued an executive order. What did he say? It's okay, this is it, but test and be sure of the safety first. It's all the things that the data protection said they were doing with the banks and so on. It's the way to go, to test for safety and build in the system that protection ahead. Another one the EU did was limited legal liability for the developers. Because if we don't let them feel any sense of risk, they will take off and then do what they think they want to do. They'll put in terms and conditions, and they know we don't read. Right? We don't read the thing, and we just want to install the app. So why should I be reading all this long, winding stuff? Yeah. So let's take off the terms and conditions and build in the thing that will protect the consumer, because they are the ones that will make you make more money to develop the next app.
What if the terms and condition is ethically needed?
Well, yeah. So what is ethics? It starts from the developer. The ethics has to start from the developer, right? So one professor in Kellogg Management School did some work. He's actually a finance professor. He did some work, and I liked what he came out with, like finding a sweet spot with all these three I've identified, that if we make the developers work with the testing stage with governments and whatever the regulator is. So you are being tested to make sure it's sound. You, the developer, you are involved in making sure that even the regulatory framework, which is the legal dimension, you understand it, and you know where not to cross and so on. So eventually, you come out with something that has built in. And that's what you refer to, that China is doing principles and so on. So they know that they're working with the developers to say, you can't cross, you know, you have to test and see where the thing is taking us before we allow you. So that you don't have the burden of regulation or bans coming through. Yeah. So I thought that's an intervention I needed to make.
Okay. Still with you, Bright. One of my mobile service providers, I had challenges with my internet. And I called whatever helpline I had to call. It wasn't going through. Later, someone told me to go to them on WhatsApp. So there's a WhatsApp number that you have to.
Yeah.
When I started chatting with whoever I was chatting with,
It's a bot.
yes, I later realized that this is not a human being,
Yeah.
because the person is not actually addressing the concerns that I'm experiencing. So from institutions and companies, how can they actually use the AI for the benefit of consumers so that they can actually solve consumer problems and concerns when interacting with them?
So I started off by saying that AI does achieve efficiencies. So in order to efficiently handle all these customers, we need to use the bot sometimes, because you can't have just endless numbers of people picking up calls as soon as you make the call, as soon as you type. So the AI is the first layer. It may answer some questions that are already programmed into it to answer.
Yeah.
Then, of course, there must be a customer line that you can then go to when you find out that, no, it's not really specific to your need. And so it has to be a combination. It's not either or. It's both humans and machines working together in order for you to be protected and be responsibly handled by the service provider. So that's, for me, the way it has to be. We need to train a lot more people to work with the AI systems. We need the AI system because we need the efficiencies. The world is moving very fast. We can't continue to be slow and have low productivity. Inflation is climbing every time. So we need the AI working with human systems.
Okay, all right. Mary, you wanted to say something, quick one, then I'll move to audience here for some questions.
I think it has to do with data protection. So the submission I am making has to do with data protection, and for those of us who consume digital products and the information we give. And it's quite intriguing to share an experience a couple of weeks ago, because I had to open my service provider's helpline, and I had purchased data, and for a number of hours I felt imprisoned. I wasn't able to make any calls because in as much as the deduction has been done, nothing has been given back. So a few interaction with the bot, eventually I had my kind to interact with. And I was requested to provide information that I thought were quite, sensitive. And the lady at the other side of the line said, well, until you provide them, there is nothing or little we can do. Data protection, Emmanuel was saying that, look, we are not there yet. This conversation, we are not there yet. But it doesn't prevent us from having that conversation. We just have to be forearmed because we are using the technology already. I don't know how many of us, the approval that the EU gave this week, Wednesday, on the AI guideline, Tuesday, I don't know how many of us have read it. And really what the requirement, one of them I'm going to read, is that the National Cybersecurity Center, this law is expected to reshape how business and organizations in Europe use AI. It imposes ban on some acceptable or unacceptable technologies. It bans the use of AI to interpret the emotions of people. Yes, in schools and workplaces, and other types of automated profiling intended to predict a person's likelihood of committing crimes. So, you and I, what do we use AI for? It tells you that, yes, we are not there, but we are using the technology. We must have the conversation. And from the perspective of the regulator, we are asking the question, what is the level of the consumer? And where is the consumer now? What does the consumer need? For a couple of years, the Cybersecurity Authority started commemorating the National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. This is a global event. But but we were celebrating it under the umbrella NACSAM, the National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, which we celebrate every October. And the objective is to ensure that as many entities as possible, government, private, business, children, are reached with cybersecurity education. Because the technology is with us, we can't fake ignorance and think that it's not something that we don't need because we are there. Unfortunately, we possibly are operating it from the angle of ignorance, and that's where the danger is. Because as you go within the virtual space every day, just go on a particular application for a whole week. The following week when you go there, the application would ask you, is this what you need? You've already been predicted when you are not even thinking. So it's important for us to understand this current domain and cooperate with regulatory institutions. And where am I coming from? From where we sit as a cybersecurity authority. For instance, we are collaborating a lot with the Association of Bankers, with the telecommunications, and with a number of the industry within the country, because we know, we very much understand that from the incident response perspective, it's important that when a bank, when a health sector, when any critical infrastructure agency picks up a vulnerability, that is reported. But unfortunately, we don't have these reports coming because possibly in a case, the banking industry may think that, look, if I report this, there is going to be panic withdrawal. So they're not going to report it. The question is, if you don't report a vulnerability within your system, you're going to lose all right, but the cyberspace is borderless. So the regulator is unable to investigate because he did not report it, and that is going to affect another bank. That is going to affect another sector. That is exactly where the cyber criminals are thriving, because our critical infrastructure agencies are not reporting incidents.
Okay, all right. I will have to move to the audience here. Okay.
Quick contribution.
A quick one from Prof, then
Yes.
a quick one also from Martin.
So let me put on my academic hat for just 2 minutes.
Okay.
The conversation we've had so far is about us having Me Too regulations for technologies that are being developed elsewhere. We're talking about regulation. We've not talked about national strategy. What do we want to do when we grow up? What are the areas in AI that we should put our resources around so that we can create the same levels of jobs and opportunities for our teeming youth? So I think it is also important that instead of just trying to figure ways to regulate a space that we don't really know too much about, we should also have a national strategy. The Americans had a national strategy for AI more than 10 years ago. So regulate, but also provide resources to really develop the technology in the direction that will be advantageous for us. Because again, AI is for everybody. Everybody has to figure out, when you go to that elephant, which part of the elephant is most important for you.
Okay, all right. A quick one, Maxwell.
Okay, thank you very much. Prof, thank you. Maybe I'll counter your this thing after the panel discussion. So I wanted to share a quick note on the importance of actually taking data protection as a serious subject matter.
Yeah.
Because if we don't take data protection very serious, it will be difficult for us to handle the cyber side of it. Because what is the cyber? What are we protecting if we don't have our data protection guidelines in place, or we as individuals and we being as data controllers or data processors? So I will encourage some of us as business owners, CEOs. I think it's something we need to take it into much consideration so that it will minimize the risk of all these cyber issues we are talking about that people are not reading and all that. Because if you can't collect, I always say, if you can't protect, don't collect. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So let's pick some questions from you. You just raise your hand and then I'll get to you. Okay. You tell us your name and maybe who the question is directed to, then we can move on.
Thank you very much. My name is Alfred Boyan. Panel, I heard something about neuroscience. You were mentioning about neuroscience. You know, we know the neuroscientists have told us about our brain, how the brain receives nearly about 11 million messages per second. And it's only 95% of them subconscious. Only 5% are very conscious. Now, two questions. Customer, I just walk into the shop. I have this brain working. Per second, I'm receiving about 11 million messages. Seeing all those things, how is the AI going to help me make a conscious decision of purchasing? Then as a marketer, how is AI going to help me get to the 95% of the 11 million messages in my customer's brain to pick up a sale?
Can I?
Okay, let's just speak another one, then after which, yeah.
Kofi Addo from the Ministry of Trade and Industry. I tend to go with Prof and the regulation, because I sit down as a public servant, and then the private sector, and then all the, let me say, the businesses and the people in the domain of the AI are far ahead. As a regulator, I don't even have the understanding. So how do I regulate something that I do not have the understanding? So for us, we have a domain. And the reason why I tend to go with Prof, we know our current situation. And that is where we need to work. So in regulation base, we can make it short term. This is where we want to go. Medium term, so that by that medium term, we now understand the domain. Look at what is happening only yesterday and 2 days ago between US and China on TikTok.
Yeah.
Because America is aware that most of the users, their information is with somebody that they don't trust. And that is where the discussion is. We are in the domain, but we don't know where it is going. So how do we protect ourselves?
Okay, thank you very much. So we can start with Mr. Bonyan's own first.
Yes.
The neuroscience
The question about how the AI will be able to keep all these products that you are trying to select and also make recommendations or make marketing decision to consumer. I want to start from the point that AI, we have types of AI, okay? There's what we call weak AI. There's what we call general AI that behaves like us. Then there's another one we call super AI, which think beyond human being. So if that is the case, then retention, keeping stuff, reproducing those memories is easy. And mind you that this is not like humans, okay? Humans, we tend to forget almost majority of the things that we've learned or we've seen. But in this scenario, because the storage is there, which keeps all the things that has been captured, it can go back to the memory and pick whatever has been captured and make sense out of it. So it is easy. We are going now to wearables, all right? So your watch can be AI powered. So once you're walking, your spectacle can be AI powered. Once you walk around, it picks everybody here. It can tell you how many female and male in this room. Yeah. Seconds, in microseconds, it can tell you that. It can tell you who is the managing director of whichever company, by just wearing the glass and walking through us here. So that is the level of intelligence we are talking about. That is the level of intelligence we are talking about here. Right.
Let me add to that. So I think at the beginning of this conversation, we said we are just looking at the tip of the iceberg. We are getting to the point where you are talking about quantum computation underlining AI. Those will be at the dangerous levels, but let me make a funny comment. There was a very famous guy in the Midwest in the US called Elder Bierman, and he started making shoes, selling shoes. And he was asked one time when I was an undergrad in an interview how he made money selling shoes. And he said 95% of the time, the customers that walks into the shop did not know what they were looking for. So what he would do, he would just meet you at the door and say, come over, I have something you will like. And he brings 4 shoes, and he's forcing them under your feet. And he invented the little box in the shoe store with the mirrors on all the 4 corners. And he said, it looks nice, doesn't it? And he said, customers buy out of guilt. That's how he made his money. So I don't think that you will walk in there and 95% of the time you know exactly what you're looking for. That is why we have window shopping.
Okay, all right.
Let me speak on
yes.
regulation and how appropriate the regulations, are. I think from the cybersecurity perspective, we know where we are, and that's an assurance. And we know what we are doing. The conversation we are having now, the AI conversation, is at the superstructure level. At the national level, we are the base level of this digital development. That's where we are. And the regulatory agency, the Cybersecurity Authority, is looking at establishing the basic structures that will serve as a fundamental structure for the main structure that we are building, or for the main conversation that we are having now. If we look at our cybersecurity regulation, for instance, that which looks at the cybersecurity service providers, the cybersecurity establishment, the cybersecurity professionals in the country, and the fact that these service providers and entities would have to be registered, accredited, and licensed, is quite key. Cybersecurity operations are such that these are very intrusive operations. And of course, Emmanuel can tell you that. If you invite a cybersecurity professional into your agency that, look, we have this problem, come and do pen testing, come and do this kind of analysis, you'll be shocked the volume and quantum of information the professional will be leaving your outfit with without your slightest idea or knowledge. You will be shocked. Now imagine an entire ministry, or let's say even the presidency. There is a cyber attack or a cyber issue there, and a professional is invited to fix the problem. And that professional has not been accredited. You ask, what kind of information is the person taking?
It's true.
Where is the person taking this information? Is the person or the professional even a spy? We have no idea. So this is a conversation that we must have, and that's exactly what we are doing. It's at the base of the structure. We must have it. Other than that, we will be overwhelmed with whatever AI is bringing. We tackle AI and then we realize, okay, but what are the legislations? And then the answer is we don't have. So how did you get here? So that's exactly what we are doing. And that is why from 2023, when we began this conversation up until now, at the moment, the cybersecurity service providers in the country that have so far registered and are in the process of receiving accreditation and licensing with the Cybersecurity Authority, these are all going into the processes. We have 1,189. These understand that the regulation is important. For cybersecurity establishments, so far 54 of them have been given provisional license. And then we have 196 of the cybersecurity professionals who also have understanding of what the Cybersecurity Authority is doing and are also in the process of working on their documentations with us. So yes, the base is important. We are not jumping the gun. It's important that we have this conversation, but it's also quite key that when citizens understand these vulnerabilities, it's not privacy. It's a national, It's a national security issue that the conversation we must have. So it's not a particular, bank that is suffering a vulnerability, and so you should not report it, and people will do panic withdrawal. But let's have a national perspective. Let's have a global perspective in this entire conversation.
Okay, let's pick some other questions. Okay.
Look, I think regulation is fine.
Okay.
One of the challenges I have seen is enforcement. Enforcement. I mean, we all know today that people have their SIM card registered against their Ghana cards. And yet, when you accidentally send money to somebody, even the telcos are not able to help you retrieve your money. Yet, they have all the records. They know exactly who withdrew the money and when, because they have a password. So, and it's beyond the telcos. I mean, you go to East Legon today, and you have buildings with injunctions on them, but they are still being built. Okay? Now, if you just go back into history, there was a guy called Meredith who was prevented by racists from going to University of Mississippi. But when the court said that school had to desegregate, FBI took him to school every single day until he graduated. Here you go to court, they issue a warrant, and nothing happens. You go to court, you get an injunction, and nothing happens. And so you can have all the regulations, but if it is not punitive enough, it's nothing but just a Me Too regulation copied from the European Union.
Okay. Clarence, let's speak. We are live on Joy News, actually, so we'll quickly have to get enough questions and enough answers before we wrap up at 10. So let's do this snappy. Yes, please.
Good morning to everyone. My name is Joyce. I'm enjoying the discussion, but the question I want to ask, how are consumers being protected here? And that is the fundamental. We need not to seek our interest of my profession or my career, but we are seeking the interest of the consumer. The absence of the consumer, your profession is nothing, or your business is zero. So what are we doing? Data protection. I have been to so many institutions, and when you get to the front desk, you find a notebook. They ask you to write your name, your phone number, where you're coming exactly. I'll make this confession here that once I was looking for a particular person. When I got there, I saw the person's name, the phone number. Why wouldn't I pick the phone number and the email and contact the person directly? Is that consumer protected? No. But we see all these things in most of our institutions. And you find out whether data protection is indeed, or we are complying with data protection laws.
Okay.
I'll move on to Emmanuel. He was talking about they put a lot of contract conditions, blah, blah. But let's look at the legality of it. Is it conscionable to the innocent customer? The fact that the person is able to read and write, is that all? How is the consumer protected in that? Let's look at the legalities around it. You cannot put a whole text in a very compressed form, in a font that the customer is unable to read, and under a short time, you're expecting the customer to read to understand and agree to it before he moves on to the next stage. That is unconscionability, I guess. When we come to regulatory, yes, we need to regulate the space. No doubt about that. But again, what are we putting? What is the framework? Is the customer our preference, or it is the nation that we are considering first?
Okay.
These are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's one here.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. This has been very educative and informative, and I'm glad I made it. Are we at a point with AI where we can catalog all the uses to which the various identifiable businesses can put AI to, pharmaceuticals, hotels, transport and all that. That's the first part. And the second point is, so a hotelier gets convinced about AI in his business. Where does he go to? Who does he consult to provide that guidelines in using the AI? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes,
Yeah.
Maxwell. Or maybe Maxwell starts with you, the data collecting.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
To answer to your question concerning the notebooks always in front of security posts and receptions of organizations. As a data subject, or me myself, most of the time, if I go to even a hotel or anywhere, you tell me to give me my name, where I'm coming from, my phone number, and I'm not comfortable, I'll ask the person, why do you need it for? That's the first question. Because if I'm to come to an office and the first question may be on the phone, I should give you my house address, where I stay, or probably my marital status, then there should be a question. You are collecting too much information. So if you're not comfortable, you have the right to ask the person why you need to produce all those information. I'm not saying what is there is right, but organizations also have their own internal controls for emergency purposes. It's not that they are collecting it unless you've suffered an abuse. As you said that you knew someone during somebody you knew, you saw the person's name in the book. Fine, but the organization itself also need that log, because if to say there's a disaster and the building comes down, I know it's a notebook, it can get missing, but other organizations are using electronic means of now capturing this information. They should be able to know the number of persons that entered the building within that space of time. So I think it has its own it has its own merit and demerit. But I think what I would say is, if you go to any organization, you go to someone, they give you a form to fill. If you are not comfortable with the questions they are asking you, you have the right to ask. And then I think that will minimize your risk. If they give you a legitimate reason for that, it's fine. So I think I wouldn't say much to that. You are not, I know you are not, you don't understand. No, that is what I'm saying, the form. I don't, most of it, me, yes.
Of too many questions. Are you a Mrs. or a Mr.? Are you this and that and all of that? In addition, I add my telephone number. And I said, no, I'm not comfortable. Then they will turn you away. They will tell you, then I'm sorry. That's their policy here. You can't meet the man. And you have to go back. And probably it's urgent, I meet you. And especially for people coming to look for people for the first time they don't know. You unconsciously provide all these details, and it's become a norm.
So I understand where you are coming from.
So
from,
you can't say
from
I'm
the
not
customer point
so
of view. But what
away.
I'm saying is, you as an individual, you have the right. We have something called the data subject right. You have the right to object to anything, whether to put your name or not to put your name.
But her concern is her objection will end up not allowing her to see the person.
Yes, because yes. So that is what I'm saying. The organization itself, fine. Is an internal, depending on, I said that depending on the information they are asking you. If you ask me for my marital, then I'll have to walk out. Because depending, I'm coming to just maybe to buy a fridge from one of these shops, and you're asking me for marital status, then probably it's as much as
Maxwell, I'm coming to data protection. I have a new company. I want to register with you. I've been asked certain questions I think I'm uncomfortable with. I need to register with you because that's what the law demands. I can't just walk away. What do I do?
For data protection, as a don't
that's an example I'm actually giving, though. So that's where her question is actually coming from.
Okay, maybe
because she actually needs to see someone. There's a need there. She's asked certain information she thinks is uncomfortable, and yet, if she doesn't provide that information, she can't see the person she needs to see. That's where the question is. The issue.
So let me.
Okay. Yes.
Look, let me just.
Yeah, it's okay.
The consumer is in trouble. That is the bottom line. Yeah. And the consumer is going to be in trouble for a very long time. And that comes to my point that once you start adopting other people's regulations, you need to be careful because there's a context to it. So today, when you walk through an airport, somebody is measuring your body temperature. They are scanning you in 3D to see the red spots, whether you are panicky. And so when they pick you from the line to search you further, it just didn't happen randomly. So when they tell you it's a random search, it's not true. They've collected some variables from you as you're walking. So in that context, in the Europe or in the US, that data is not available to anybody except the security agencies. So there's a certain level of protection there. But the consumer is still in trouble for a long time to come. Because if you don't sign in to come into my office, you will not get in. Where that data goes, even me, I don't know. It's in some notebook. I don't know what is going to happen to that notebook when I hit the jackpot and I'm gone. So I think we need to contextualize data protection here. Not the Europeans, because they have mechanisms to protect, and even they still get breached.
Okay.
I think, well, I am representing my Director General, Dr. Albert Nchibwe-Siaku. And anytime we talk about Ghana's digital conversation and issues of cybersecurity development, he's got a phrase. He says, we are cooking. It's not cooked yet. And what does that mean? The kind of decision we are taking is premised on science. But we are not there yet. Recently, I needed information, the contact of a Minister of State. And I knew that my front office was the best place to get it. And I had to follow a rigorous procedure. Now it gets to the front office lead, and she says, why do you seek this contact? And I explain in an email, and the response that comes is, I'm sorry, we can't give it. And I didn't get it.
The same institution you
The
were
same
in.
institution, I didn't get it. I'm talking about the Cybersecurity Authority. I didn't get it. So we are talking about an institution that even before you get a contact, you should establish justification for that. And if it is not in the interest of the institution, where a top management person has signed for the request, you're not going to get it. How is a consumer protected from your angle, ma'am? The Cybersecurity Authority, usually, the computer emergency response team, when a vulnerability or a criminal activity is picked up, the first thing we do, before, that is after engagement with the immediate stakeholder, I think for those of you who have been following us a lot, we issue an alert. It's a national alert to let you know that this vulnerability is in the system. This is how they are working. This is what you can do to secure your asset. We do that. And then on a daily basis, we also send out advisories of how best to stay digitally hygiene. And then we also have the computer emergency response team also has the point of contact. That if you are suspicious of any cybersecurity activities within your systems, this is the number to call or to send a message to. 292. That's our point of contact.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I have less than 15 minutes to actually wrap up. So briefly, and I will just pick about
thank
one
you
or
very
two
much.
questions. Yes.
So the question about whether consumer is protected. Yeah, so I work with IDEC Digital, all right? IDEC Digital is a software development company. Aside that, we have IDEC AI Center of Excellence. IDEC AI Center of Excellence is into research and into skill development in AI space. And we also develop some AI tools as well. So what we are producing or we are developing, are the consumers protected? I mean, that's the question coming. Yes, how do you protect consumers? How do you ensure the protection of consumers in development of AI products? Now, one key thing you do is to collaborate. right? Collaboration is key, because if you are doing that, it means that the members, okay, or the partners will come together to monitor what you are producing. And so we have some collaborations with Academic City University College. We also have a collaboration with IIPGH, that's Institute of ICT Professionals, Ghana, and also with 7W Artificial Intelligence Company in Slovenia. So you can see that we don't work in vacuum. Everybody is working and monitoring each other, making sure that whatever we are doing or producing meets consumers' expectation. So yes, you are protected. Why do we make terms and conditions so long that consumers find it difficult to read all this? How many minutes would you go through that? Myself, I'm also a consumer. Even though I said that we put all these things there, I'm also a consumer, and I have to take some time to read through some of the things.
Let me briefly cut you in here. We'll be going off Join News at 10. So those of us, those watching us on television, you can just quickly go online on the CIMG page and you can get us live there. But we'll continue. But we're going off on 10 o'clock on Join News. But subsequently, we are live on online, the CIMG page too. Okay. All right.
So to make it brief, it's going to be difficult because those things that we put into the terms and conditions are more or less like a law, right? They are laws not only to us, but from the regulator as well. So we put in things that the regulator is saying it should be part of the terms and conditions that you expose to the consumer. So we put all those things there. We could make it like one page, but when a problem happens, and probably you take us to court, we will be short of the law. And so we need to put everything there so that when the judge look at it, he knows that, oh, we've done due diligence. Whether we have AI in all the fields, yes, almost all fields, every field now, you can have AI, working. You can think about it, healthcare, agric, which other one? Every field, tourism, they are all there, right? In Ghana now, we have some few people who are deploying AI tools to solve health issues, like Mino Health. That's Akogo friend. All right, they are doing very well now in health. Where should you go if you needed an AI product? Come to us, IDEC Digital. We'll help you out.
All right, thank you. Just two questions that we can. There's one thing I think Mr. Tinkran talked about, that if you can increase the font size of some of the terms and conditions. Yes, if you can increase the font size of
no.
And also make it short. Clarence.
We know in this country, public institutions don't talk to each other. Please, I want to encourage you to collaborate. You are also vulnerable. You are also vulnerable. The developer is vulnerable. I've been thinking of so many years ago when I sipped E. coli in my lab, developing something. You are vulnerable. Fortunately, I don't think they were, the bacteria was maybe attenuated somehow. It didn't cause me. You are very much vulnerable. So please, all of you, I want you as public institutions to be collaborating. I was very, very happy to hear that you are collaborating. And then also, let me repeat that, increase the font size.
Okay, thank you very much. There's a hand there, then we can.
Okay, thank you. So I'm Asa from 80, formerly Airtel Tigo. So this is just information I want to share. I think when Prof was talking, he made mention of the fact that we have Ghana cards, but when you send money to maybe someone wrongly, you may find it difficult retrieving. So this is just information I'm giving that on 80, you can at least take the first step so that you can secure your money. So the moment you realize that you sent money to someone wrongly, you dial star 110, so star 110 hash, and then you can go to accounts, and then you reverse the transaction. So once you do that immediately, be assured that it wouldn't be claimed by the other. And then also, we're talking about data protection. So yes, customer information has to be protected. And from where I sit, sometimes we get calls from family and friends, and they'll go like, this particular number has been calling. Can you please check? I want to know their name. Where exactly is this person? And I have no right to disclose such information or even go digging. So we are all trained that in such circumstances, you let the person know that you cannot do it because you don't have the right to go dig, such information. So then the best response is that if you think someone is stalking you or there's the need for you to investigate further, you go to the police station, get the police reports, go through the processes, and I'm sure you'll get that. And from the other telco I worked with too, the same education is given to staff. No. So we do well to protect customer information. Thank you.
Would it be fair if I give you an invoice? Because you realize that since yesterday and today, it's only 80 that has some connect. So it's okay, it's okay.
Shout out to 80. Our data is working.
Okay, are we done? Any other that we can wrap up on that?
Hello. Yeah. Okay. So, madam, back to your case again. So I didn't end. So another thing, no, I want to give a typical example. There's one big shop in Accra or in Ghana here that before you buy, you have to give them your phone number before they will sell to you, irrespective wherever you are coming. There's a shop in here. I can't disclose the name because the issue is actually being picked up that the enforcement team has picked it up that we are interrogating the issue. That before you buy from there, you have to give them your phone number. If not, they will turn you out. So with your issue like this, if you face an instance whereby you go to any institution, as I said, that they want to collect information from you that you are not comfortable with, you can just come to the Data Protection Commission, report there, our phone numbers are there on Data Protection, our website, then report the issue. The enforcement team will take it up. One, we even need to identify if the people are even registered with us or they are even compliant, so that the enforcement team will pick these processes and make sure that the customers are always okay when it comes to doing business. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The DG of GBC actually has taken leave of us, but if you go to a country like Japan, there's a whole program on NHK, which is a replica of GBC here, that is solely for, it's called a media literacy program. The whole objective is to educate the citizens about some of these things on the internet, and especially with the AI. And they actually also target children too a lot. So realize that almost every week there's a program out there how they can tell what they are reading is actually coming from a human being or is AI generated. And it's a constant education that is out there for the public there and the children in Japan. So maybe if it's something we can also adopt here, to have a whole kind of media literacy program on television, which will educate people to know some of these things and some of the challenges out there. So that at least, yes?
Yeah, so just to add up to what you just stated. So at IDEC Digital, as I said, we have an AI Center of Excellence. And one of the things that we now want to be doing is in education. This coming Tuesday, we're having a virtual, more or less like educational program. It's called AI Africa Series. AI Africa Series is basically to educate, the populace about AI. What exactly is it? What are the dangers involved? How ethically we can use AI? And this Tuesday is when we'll be having it at 10. It's virtual. Academic City College represented at that panel. So it's very holistic, and that education is key going forward.
All right. Thank you very much. And let's put our hands together for our panel members. Let's put our hands together for them. Thank you very much. I also would like to acknowledge the presence of Mr. Kojo Mata, who's the immediate past president of CIMG, who's joined us. Mr. Welcome. And also to Samuel Tinkrine, CIMG full member and a World Bank communication consultant. He was the one who talked about the font side of some of these agreements. And then to acknowledge the presence of Christiana Mann, who's an examiner for marketing research and insights. Christiana, thank you very much for passing through. And then Gabriel Baku, former governing council for CIMG, who are also here with us. And we have representative of GT Bank, CBG, ICAG also here with us. We also acknowledge the presence of Mr. Theodore Sain, who is CIMG National Vice President. Thank you very much. And then Kofi Fumi is the Director of CIMG Council. Thank you very much. We'll go for the vote of thanks, after which we'll go for the closing prayer, and then we'll call it a wrap. So let's put our hands to welcome Franklin Soa for the vote of thanks. Franklin is the National Secretary for CIMG.
Good morning, everyone. It's been an exciting session, and on behalf of the National Executive Committee, we'll say thank you first to our panel members. I think that you've done a yeoman's job to the role, so thank you. Let's hear it for them. Our invited guests, council members here present, former and current, and everyone, and our media partners, we say thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the day, and remember, AI is real. So, DG, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And to your surprise, I deployed an AI tool. And I can tell you, I know exactly what you're all thinking. No, honestly, I know exactly what you're all thinking. Okay. You want me to tell you what you're thinking? You want me to tell you what you're thinking? Okay, this is what you're thinking. You're actually waiting for me to tell you what you're thinking. That's what you're thinking. All right, thank you very much for your time. It's been good having you around. Let's go for the closing prayer. So shall we pray? Father Lord, we thank you very much for this session. Grateful for you being here with us and staying committed to us. We thank you for the information we've shared and the knowledge we've shared here. We ask that we impact others with it and we cause a change. Take us back to our offices safely and our various venues also safely. In Jesus' name we pray with thanksgiving. Amen. Have a good day and a good weekend. Bye-bye.